Hi, welcome to this video on algebra word problems, solving a word problem question 2. Dan buys 20 shirts, which has a total cost of $980. So in total, Dan bought 20 shirts and altogether it cost him $980. If the large shirts cost $50 each and the small shirts cost $40 each, how much of each size did he buy? So using our strategy, we've read the question fully, and now we want to assign some variables. The key objects here would be how much of each size did he buy? So let's assign variables to each one. So let the total number of large shirts, let's call that X. Okay, so you could have bought 12 large shirts, 13 large shirts, 3 large shirts. We know he didn't buy 50 large shirts because in total he only bought 20. So it's important that when we find our solutions that they make sense. And similarly, let's let the total number of small shirts be equal to Y. Now, we were told that Dan bought 20 shirts altogether. So, if I add up the total number of large shirts and the total number of small shirts, I should have 20 shirts in total. So that gives us our first equation. X plus Y equals 20. This is telling us that the total number of shirts is separated by the total number of large shirts and the total number of small shirts, which are X and Y respectively. So X plus Y will give you the total number of shirts that Dan bought, which must be 20. Next, we know that each large shirt is $50. So we know that since there are X amounts of large shirts, that's what we let the variable X be, then how much did it cost just for the large shirts? That would be given by this. So cost of all the large shirts will be given by the number of shirts that are large, which is X, times the cost of it, which is 50. So 50 times X, which is 50X. Okay, so if we had 10 large shirts, then in total, since each large shirt is $50, it would be 50 times 10, which would be $500. All right, so that is if X was 10, for example. Similarly, the cost of all the small shirts can be worked out in a similar manner. So we know that each small shirt costs $40, and there were Y amounts of small shirts in total. Now we know that the total cost of all the shirts came up to $980. So how do we break up the total cost? That'll be the cost of all the large shirts plus the cost of all the small shirts. So that gives us our second equation. 50X plus 40Y is equal to $980. And that is the second equation. So we now have a system of simultaneous equations for X and Y. 2 equations, 2 variables. So we can solve each variable. So I'm going to use equation 1 because it's the simpler one first. So from equation 1, I can make Y the subject of the formula by subtracting X on both sides. And that'll give me Y equals 20 minus X. Let's call this equation 3. I can then, therefore, substitute this equation 3 into equation 2 now. So wherever there's a Y, I'm going to replace it. So 50X plus 40Y, but Y is now given by 20 minus X. And that's equal to 980. Okay, we now have a linear equation in X, so we can solve for X. So if I expand that out, it's 50X plus 40 times 20 is 800. 40 times negative X is negative 40X, and that's equal to 980. So like terms, 50X, negative 40X, that leaves you with 10X left over, plus 800, equals 980. I want to solve for x. So first I'll subtract 800 from both sides. That'll give me with 180 on the right hand side. And then I'll divide both sides by 10. Therefore x is 18. So Dan bought 18 large shirts. Therefore, from equation 1, we can work out y, or rather equation 3, and that is y is equal to 20 minus x, which is 18. 20 minus 18 is 2. So, how much of each size did he buy? Well, Dan bought 18 large shirts in total and 2 small shirts in total. Right? We are good mathematicians. We always like to check that our solutions make sense. So for equation 1, x plus y is 18 plus 2, and that does give me 20. Equation 2, 50 times 18 plus 40 times 2. Well, let's work that out. How do we do 50 times 18 without a calculator? Well, I break that up into 18 is 10 plus 8. So 50 times 10 is 500. Plus 50 times 8, well, 8 fives are 40, right? So 40. But you're multiplying by 50, not 5. So it's 500 plus 400, right? Or you can just check on your calculator as well. 40 times 2 is 80. So in total, 500 plus 400 is 900, plus 80 is 980. And that satisfies equation 2. Hence, we have the correct solutions. All right, I'll see you in the next one.